You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
I thank you very much for listening to the No Fruit Podcast. There are early storms that tested our marriage, and we weren't always sure how to deal with it. We're talking about some of our in-laws. We'll talk about it right after this.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. We'll help your spirit transform.
Thank you very much for listening today. How are you today, Kaf?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. So let's talk about challenges that we might have experienced with our in-laws today. Now, as y'all both know, as everyone knows, Kaf and I have been, in this relationship for 28 years, married for 25. And one of the things that most people have to deal with are in-laws. That's a challenge. Trying to bring the two communities together, right? And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't have any issues necessarily with my in-laws. As I listen to some of my peers or whatever else, like they have some really, really hard challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So as a direct problem with in-laws, I don't have it. What about you, Kaf?
No, I don't have any problems with in-laws. Not that I'm aware of. That they may say something different.
Right.
And until they say something, it's going to be, the answer is going to be no issues. I think our families blended well from the beginning. And again, it could be because we're really related.
Yeah, could be.
And maybe they kind of know somehow deep down inside that we're all, family. So I don't recall any issues or negativity within the in-laws from one family to another. I can't think back of a time like, oh no, we can't bring these two together, or oh no, I don't want to go there because the in-laws are there. So I can't say that. I don't, again, other than the fact that somehow we're all related, I don't know what else makes that happen. So I can't even give advice to somebody to say like, hey, if you do these things, that'll smooth things over. So
right.
I don't have much to give other than, hey, for me in my house, it's fine.
Right. I think that's a challenge because I know for myself, like as I listen to some of my peers and homies or whatever, and like their in-laws, like they have a whole lot to say, or they got, they're so involved within the family or dynamic or situation. It's like, oh snap! Like, I like all I could do is just sit there and listen and just, like that's all I can do because I don't have it.
Right.
I don't experience that. So
I think some of it is our families are not engulfed in drama, so they're not looking to create drama and or looking for drama to be in our own house. So I think that's part of it, that they're kind of wrapped up in whatever they're doing and not ultra involved in what goes on in our relationship
Mm-hmm.
or in our upbringing of our kids. So they don't have an opinion necessarily. And if they do, they don't share it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's the difference, that they're just doing what they do and they're allowing us to do what we do.
Right.
And everybody keeps their opinions to themselves. They keep, you know, even when we do get together, I can't say, oh, well, facial expressions and body language is like uncomfortable.
Right.
Everybody's just doing their things. I can't say, hey, they act one way when Maurice is around and a different way when he's not. Everybody's just doing their thing. You know, we get together on the holidays to do holiday stuff. Everybody come to eat.
Right.
You know, and that's basically it. It's not, oh, you know, woe is me. So I don't have anything more really to say.
Yeah, I mean, and I would also say that, like, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, in all honesty, like, I can remember once or twice where I'm like, like I might have felt uneasy for a situation, or where I could have been in the presence of everybody, and they're like, Maurice, like, you ain't got nothing to say? Well, it's like, one, y'all reminiscing. I can't jump in on a reminisce. You get what I mean? But also, it was, all I could do is just sit there and learn and listen. Like I can't do anything else. Like, you know, there's no way for me to interject myself into a situation. Like, I don't need to be seen like that. So I think that's because you said something about the family not wanting drama, but I don't think we want drama for ourselves.
Right.
You know, so we kind of just, even for yourself, like, I can't sit here and say that you've gone in and always felt comfortable in responding to something or whatever. So it's happened on both sides, I guess,
right.
for
And
both of us.
I don't think that's an in-law situation. I think that's just me and my personality. I don't care if I was just going in to meet, you know, anybody, and anybody's, you know, a good friend, and I'm being introduced to their family. I'm going to be respectful and whatever, you know, I'm not going to wild out. I'm not looking for drama, and I'm not going to be involved in it, you know, that type of thing. So I don't think it's necessarily an in-law thing, or it's just how we represent ourselves.
Yeah, I mean,
so I can't say, oh, I only felt uncomfortable going into my in-laws, you know, home, you know, and when we say in-laws, I'm not just talking mother and father-in-law. I may be talking an aunt, a cousin, or whomever else, you know, coming together. Even a family reunion, you know, hey, you've been to my family's family reunion, and I've gone to your family's family reunion. Does that seem awkward? It is. Like, I don't know those people, and you don't know half them people.
Yeah, for the families that we attended, the reunions that we attended, yes.
And likewise, hey, I've gone to friends, you know, when they've had family gatherings. It's going to be, because you don't know everybody.
Now, here's what I would say, though. I think that if we were at a reunion where we might have been closer to the individuals that attended, that in all reality, everybody would have been included. So, or those individuals that were closer would be, because even when we went to your family reunion, right, the cousins that you were closest to, we shared a room with, right, and we kind of stuck around, our kids stuck around with their kids and all that type of stuff. So you still tend to stay closer to the people that you already know. So I was already comfortable with them, right? You know, but then on the other hand, when we went to my family reunion, listen, I knew really nothing about them. You get what I mean? You know, so in all reality, and then those people that we were a little closer to that attended, just a little bit more closer, like, they were way more friendly, and the kids were our kids, you know, so I think those, I guess the common factor being the kids, help to, you know, allow for those opportunities for us to talk and adjust or whatever it is. But otherwise, you know, it's not like we're going to the reunions and we know everybody there.
Right.
So we just tend to stick in our own little corner anyway. And then the other part that I would like to say as well is that because in addition to us dealing with the other side or our in-laws directly, I know for myself, I had to deal with my family's influence on my life, which also affected us. That influence, the mindset, the culture that I was coming from,
Okay.
and having to find a way to adjust. I mean, and again, we've been married for 25 years, and in all honesty, there's still some things where I'm still adjusting to
Mm-hmm.
or from. And to be honest, we've been married longer than I've been in that environment.
Yes.
We got married I got married at 24. We've been married for 25.
More than half your life.
You know, so in all reality, it's still an adjustment. But it's an adjustment because those were the more formidable,
Yes.
years or whatever. So that kind of makes up who you are, your morals, your values, and all that type of stuff. But then as you get older, you start to realize like, maybe I really don't think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't feel that way. Or maybe I did at one time, but because of my personal adult experiences, that one might be a little bit different because there's different variables. The first variable is me, right?
Yes.
The second variable is you, because we can go through as a very similar situation, but because our outlook is different, our other experiences have been different, our other conversations have been different with other people, that one event that on paper could look like it's the exact same thing, it's still vastly different.
Yes.
And so I think those are the things that we don't always take in consideration. So for me, again, when we take a look at, because everybody is married, has some in-law, right? Have in-laws. That's paper, right? That's paper, right? That's in-laws, right? But when it comes down to how you deal with them, I think is different. Because I've seen
how
so
they
many.
deal with you. I think
Right.
that's another part, as you're saying. Our experiences help us to understand and develop who we are. So we may not have a problem with that person, but very well that person can have a problem with us.
And
you
I
took
think,
away my,
I mean, well, yeah, we heard that recently.
Yeah.
You took away my gaffer. Whatever.
So,
But again, what was my attitude though? See, I think part of the challenges is that we separate as well people. We can have that tendency to do that. Like, hey, well, we're dating now, and you know what? I'm gonna be so focused on this person, and we're married now. I'm so focused. Like, for an example, you had said something the other day about how your younger cousin, being your first cousin, how she might have felt as though, I didn't know until later on, she felt as though I took you away from her, but she was going to high school around the corner from us, and we still gave her a key. Right? So to some degree, she still felt attached, right? So it wasn't like I separated you from her. It's not like I took you away and locked you in a dungeon. Unfortunately, though, you did have a comment of a family member that said to me, Maurice, you don't let her out. It was said directly to me. Now, per your response, though, you're like, Maurice, I have zero idea where that even came from. I don't even talk to that lady. But then the question is, what else is being said behind closed doors?
mm-hmm.
Right? But the opinion is that I'm locking you away, but did anybody ask Kafa how she really feels and what she's doing? See, that's the other part too. We don't consider what we're talking about if as far as that individual, how they actually feel.
Right. And I think you have to, I guess, listening to you now, if I had to give advice to those who are newly married, and when I say newly married, I'd say maybe under 5 years, before the 7-year itch, that, yes, that you would listen and observe what those family members and those in-laws, what energy they give out, so that you can ask those questions and have good conversations with them. Because you may think, you may be in your blissfully, happily married state of mind and not see some of those warning signs, or, even entertain that it could be an issue with a cousin or some distant relative that thinks in their mind that she knows who I am. She had early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, so I don't know.
But nobody corrected it though either.
I didn't hear it. I don't know where I was. Was I nearby? I don't recall.
No, I mean, we were, again, when that happened, right? We were leaving a family dinner, right? I wasn't, again, that was one of those moments where I was kind of off in the corner dealing with the kids though, right? So keeping them entertained because there was no other kids their age there. So I'm keeping our kids entertained. So you go off, you could talk to your cousin. And I mean, we were all in relatively the same place. It's not like we were separated or nothing like that. I was still relatively right there, right? And so an open concept house, right? So living room, dining room was right next to each other. Everybody was in the dining room. I'm in the living room with Maurice and Janae. So I was right there. And I could hear everything y'all talking about, but I'm not going to be one that's going to yell across a room and whatever else. And I don't remember if I introduced, but I did speak to everybody and whatever when I first came in, whatever. So as we're leaving though, because it is a holiday and we have other family members we need to go see, or it was just a long day. I can't remember exactly what it was, because at that time we was doing 2 and 3 houses on a holiday, period. So, and I don't think it was our last stop, but I go to the table, say good evening to everybody, shake, everybody's hand. And I go to the lady's hand, speak to the lady. And that's when she said to me, Maurice, whatever. Now, again, everybody else is around looking though. I believe you're over here in the living room getting the kids' coats and stuff on. Like, I believe like you're getting everything together for us to leave. So, again, like you said, you weren't right there, but it was dead silence. It was quiet. So what am I to say? What am I to do? I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, whatever. And I can't remember 100%. I believe I said, I'm not doing that, or she can come out whenever she wants. I believe I said something along those lines. Because I'm not holding you hostage. I wasn't stopping you from coming out to see anybody. The question is, was everybody telling you what else was going on? And I think that's some of the challenges as well. Because we've been told by some of our friends, hey, y'all, y'all married now. Like, I don't know if I should bother y'all or not. Been told that. Hey, y'all got kids. I don't have any kids yet. Should I bother y'all or not? So I don't know what the situations were. I don't know what the real conversations were behind the scenes. I just know that was said. Now, I could have been all upset and been out of shape or whatever else, but I ain't know the lady. And then even talking to you, especially over the years when this has been mentioned real quick, you're like, Maurice, like, I really don't know. Like, I really don't know where that came from. But we also understand that, like you just said, some people like drama. And the thing is that we don't feed into it.
Right.
We don't feed into it. You can say whatever you want.
So, I mean, I think that we were able to handle what could have become a dramatized situation or something that could have sparked an argument, but we just, I don't think it was right away you brought it to my attention, but you brought it to my attention. And like you said, and we continue to open up about that, and provide clarity and, assurance about, hey, well, I apologize. I'm sorry that she said that. I didn't know, even at that particular time, I didn't know what was going on with her, health-wise. But just a few years later, we found out that she was going through some challenges when it came to Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah, but I don't know if she would have said, if you were in a dementia state and she's going to be like, you can let Kafa out the house mindset, right? Like
Yeah, but I don't know if she's in a state where she thinks that I'm around all the time, so where is she coming from that mindset of where she's used to seeing me?
Did she show any signs of that when y'all was sitting there talking?
I don't recall.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying in general.
So
you don't remember even talking to her.
I don't.
Yeah, so
maybe I have Alzheimer's and dementia. I don't know. But,
no, but see, I'm gonna use that as an
it's
example,
just the
right?
pleasantries of it, but
No, but listen to what you just said, though, right? You said, Maurice, I don't even remember talking to her. I'm gonna use that because you said that something similar to that. Even when around the first time I even mentioned it, you're like, Maurice, I don't talk to the lady. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, Maurice, I have no idea where that came from. And so to your point, you're like, if I wanted the drama, if I wanted the heat, right, it could have been a whole nother situation because of that.
Mm-hmm.
In all reality, now, with that being said, if I did come to you differently, how would you feel? How would you have taken it? And I think those are the things that we don't also consider, which is, yes, I know what I would feel like in my feelings if I would have come to you heated or whatever. I was like, did you tell them? Like, because sometimes we come to assumptions, right? Did you tell them I don't do? Did you tell them or whatever else? Instead of like, all right, well, Kaf, did you say something? Do you feel that way? But I just said to you, I don't remember exactly how I said it to you, but ultimately it came down to, Maurice, I don't even talk to the lady, right? Which to me also is like, all right, well, that means it didn't necessarily come from you as much as it might be some other family members fueling the fire, possibly. That's how I took it.
Right. I mean, and there's a lot of things to take an assumption, like you said, is it other family members saying it to the lady and she's picking it up and she's just being that mouth? Or, again, is she remembering when I was 5, 6, 7 years old and I would come over for Christmas? Okay. But I wasn't there every year through all my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't say like, hey, now I got married. Now you don't see me every year, but you saw me for the first 20-something years of my life, every Christmas. Or every, Thanksgiving. No,
Mm-hmm.
lady, it wasn't like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Again, and for all of those things, we're talking about times when I was much younger.
Right.
Maybe, I think, one time in high school, like, that I can recall being at her house. Other times it was, her daughter's house or whatever. So yeah, I can't even be like, oh yeah, like I remember every holiday with her. No, lady, no. Sorry. You know what I mean? So again, in-laws can have in their minds what they've made up, and you and your spouse have to kind of have that communication, have that discussion so that you can move forward. I think that's, if there is a tip, it is to communicate well with your spouse.
And I have to say that, Kafa, even in that situation, however you responded, it wasn't in a manner for me to take it serious, right? Being angrily distant, whatever, like it didn't cause dissension or like for me. You get what I mean? And just like, all right, it's just you in space between this person and whatever that space is or their appearance of space. That was it. If otherwise, family members, y'all should just say, hey, you know what? We miss our beloved. You get what I mean? But you get what I'm saying? So not like, hey, can we have a combination to the lock? Like, it's not like that. Mm-hmm. So I think having a different type of relationship with the in-laws And even we're talking about that group, or that side of the in-laws. I mean, it was already some distance within that anyway, because of states, or whatever it might be, like distance, just general distance. And then the other part is that the other people that were around weren't necessarily married either. Like, it was just some other little disconnects that I remember at that time. And it is what it is, but it comes down to y'all having a genuine relationship with your spouse when it comes to these in-laws. I think that's what it comes down to, in all honesty. I mean, it's not an easy thing, right? And it's not going to be simple, but can you be vulnerable enough? Mm-hmm. I think that's the other part too, that sometimes we're not vulnerable enough in those situations.
And I think the other part is, where do we sit with not only our spouse, but where do we sit with those family members? So if she was more important to me and I had a relationship with that person, it's up to me not only to talk to my husband, but then also to talk to her and say, hey, like, this is where things are and this is how things are going to continue to move forward. Mm-hmm. Yes, when I was 5 and when I was 10, I came and did these things, but now I'm raising my own family. And now I'm married, and now I have my own traditions, and I have my own, so being able to have that conversation with that person would have been, I think, the next step to do. Mm-hmm. But she and I did not have that kind of relationship for me to entertain that type of thing. Did we even see her, I guess, maybe again at one other event?
Oh, I don't remember.
But even with that, like, she might have said hi and that was it. She sat in her seat and So, so it just, I think just communication overall, don't be ashamed to say when you feel uncomfortable, but understand why you're feeling uncomfortable. Is it just the nature of being in a new space? Is it the nature of like, hey, I would feel this way if it wasn't my spouse and my in-laws?
I think the challenge with not the challenge, but I hear exactly what you're saying in reference to one of the things that you have to deal with is whether or not you're going to see that person again. Mm-hmm. So how active is that person at all the other events? So what you're saying is, or your first example of what you said was, did we see her again? That was your example, right? Mm-hmm. And if we saw her again, she might have sat in that one seat the whole time. And guess what? That would have meant that we was everywhere else but. Because I don't remember. I really don't remember. Right? Because, and here's the other part too. And I don't know why, like, I got all these things that's going across my head. This too shall pass. Mm-hmm. Right? 1. Number 2, I mean, to explain that this too shall pass is that when did that happen? And what year was that to compare to where we at right now?
Yes.
Right? So this too shall pass. There'll be just another notch on your belt, right? It'll be just another situation that you've overcome. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you control some of that because that's, again, a distant relative. It's a relative through marriage or whatever it may be. And they're not in your marriage. They're not in your life. Unlike, I guess, a mother or a father would be. But you control that. So you can control whether or not how quickly or how slowly that storm will pass. If you come home and it continues to be a conversation and it, every day you're bringing it up, then yeah, you're adding to it and it won't pass.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about the type of communication you have, mm-hmm. What is shared. And then overall, Maurice's, one of his favorite words is your mindset. Mm-hmm. How are you taking that and what is your mind telling you about that? are you able to let it go and move on? Because there's other things to do. We had a toddler and a kid in a car seat, carrier. They were young little babies. Like, I wasn't worried. I had so much more to do.
And the other part is that, because I'm listening to what you're saying, so if I'm upset, if I'm frustrated, what would that drive have been like?
Right.
Because we were in another state. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because around that early time when they were kids, like, it was like frighteningly cold outside. We had to come across a bridge or two. Like, it was, so if I wasn't paying attention, if I was upset or whatever it is, hey, y'all, we might not be talking to y'all today. Right? So it's those type of things. Like, as you stated, was we had babies and we had other things on our mind.
Yes.
And especially if it was, let's say if it was a Christmas time, I was more or less concerned, thinking about them getting ready to get home and play with some more of their toys. Or if we had to carry them, if it was Thanksgiving, do I have to carry them in the house? Like, my mind might have been somewhere else. You get what I mean?
We have to get up and go to work tomorrow. Like, those are other things.
Yeah.
Like, people are, oh, well, you don't come and do this. Well, I have 2 kids. I have to fully clothe and get ready and do all this stuff. And then,
like, do you understand how many?
And entertain and then bring them home and then decompress and then get up and do all this in the morning to go out, to go to work and to go to school and daycare and things like that. So, it's not easy. And I'm not saying it's an excuse.
And yes, I understood you did this, but you did this 57, 59, 20,000 years ago.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But we just want to talk to y'all about just how we might deal with in-laws and our situations. They're not that deep. Even like the one that we're talking about right now at length, it's not even a deep one. It's not close enough. It didn't affect enough, right? Now, I don't know how some of you who have actual mother and father-in-laws that are, entrenched into your relationships and all that type of stuff. I couldn't tell you how to deal with that because we don't have those experiences either. But I think also it depends on how your parent respects you or views you. I think our parents views us in a relatively adult perspective, relatively. And so they really don't bother us but so much. And just like we're relatively like them as well, keep everybody at a distance. So they're kind of kept at a distance as well. So so sometimes I think, hey, you know what? I'm really looking in the mirror. I'm looking in the mirror. So, but it also comes down to conversations with them as well. Right. So, and can you show them that, hey, I'm really an adult and I got this. I can handle it a little bit. So, but tell us what your thoughts are and how y'all move forward with your in-laws and how do you get to the point where where you're not frustrated all day, every day. That doesn't mean you don't have a moment. And I think Deion Sanders said it best. He said, I don't have bad days. I just have crazy moments. So that's all I got to say.
Hopefully this moment you spent with us have not been a crazy moment.
Hopefully it's been enlightening.
Yes, hopefully it's been enlightening. We thank you so much for listening to another wonderful episode of the No Fruit Podcast. We'll catch you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. We hope today's discussion left you feeling uplifted, encouraged, and ready to take on life's journey with purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. You can catch up on past episodes, send us your thoughts, or learn more about us on social media. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you next time.